Hello, everyone. Welcome back to All About America's Team. As you can see, I am back from vacation, and I brought some props. We got the ice pack right here. I'm sure all of y'all know what that is for, but I'll get into that a little bit later. Also got my intelligent goggles on today because I'm going to need them for breaking down this very, very interesting and boring preseason game. I'm Ray Nickens.
And I'm Owen DeChico.
And this is your show where we talk about the punter of the Dallas Cowboys, the third string corner of the Dallas Cowboys, and the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. So basically everything and anything about the team. We have a pretty interesting show today. Like I said, we're going to dive into the preseason. We have some news from camp, and also with the Hall of Fame induction of Jimmy Johnson Jimmy Johnson and him being inducted into the Ring of Honor, and the original 88 being inducted, as well as some other Cowboys that played on that team. And our buddy, or my buddy, Tony Romo, will be eligible next year along with DeMarcus Ware. So we'll be getting into a little bit of that later. But first, Owen, actually, my bad. I've been off on vacation for too long. You can find us on Instagram at All About America's Team, and on Twitter at America's Team PC. Also, we have a YouTube channel. This is where this video recording will be live right now. If you want to check that out, just go to the YouTube, type in All About America's Team, and it will pop up. It has our logo on the profile pic, and we have 7 wonderful episodes on there. So now that's out of the way, Owen, what do you got for us on the news?
So your good prop over there, Dak is throwing, as you and I talked about earlier to the show, as well as Amari Cooper is off the PUP list, and he passed his physical, and today he was catching passes from Dak. DeMarcus Lawrence, defensive end, was also taken off the PUP list, and he was participating in defensive walkthroughs this week. So there's a lot of different things happening. The big name guys on the PUP list are finally going to be able to go through walkthroughs today and hopefully be looking to play a few snaps in future preseason games and hopefully be ready to take on Tom Brady and the Buccaneers week 1, which is like 4 weeks away, which is very scary.
But how exciting. I am excited for football.
Yeah, so am I. I'll be excited for week 2. I don't really know how week 1 is going to
go. Yeah, my prop, if this is your first time on the show, or you don't even know what happens when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys, you just ignore the Dallas Cowboys, which is totally understandable. They can be quite an annoying franchise. But I'm wearing an ice pack today on my right shoulder. And that is because our friend, the $40 million man, Dak Prescott, strained his shoulder. And I'm sure Owen talked to you about this, last week while I was in Colorado, but strained his shoulder, non-contact, just tossing the pigskin around the field. So as a celebratory moment, I have this wonderful ice pack on my shoulder, just as a joke, because he is getting paid a lot of money. And it was a non-contact injury. And the Cowboys are obviously hiding something, because it's very unusual that they would hold out a quarterback for a injury that they say is not that big of a deal. And I'm sure I saw a few videos on Twitter. Looks like he has a changed up throwing motion. It looks very normal for him going back, but when he goes through the ball, it's a little bit of a push motion. Kind of looks like Phillip Rivers, but Dak is not 40 years old, so it's kind of an issue. But
I remember when I played baseball a very long time ago, my shoulder and arm would get sore after throwing from right field. So I can understand, because I'd like to think that he's been throwing about a month or 2 since his injury. So for him just nonstop throwing it, I can understand why he has a little bit of soreness there. But you and I have 2 very different takes on why he's been sitting out. You think that he has some underlying issue that no one wants to talk about, but my thinking You and I can both agree that I said this before. You can't win a Super Bowl in preseason, but you can definitely lose one. So if
Yeah,
they were to continue, because it happened 2 weeks ago, so if they were to continue for him to push through it, and if for whatever chance where he were to tear his shoulder or whatever the medical term for it is, then our season would have been like last year, and it would have been even worse. But Dak going into he's a seasoned vet. He doesn't need to play in all 3 to 4 preseason games. So for him to take this time off, if in a week or so it comes out that there's more things about his shoulder, then I will say that you were right. But as of right now, I just like to think that it's rest and nothing more serious than that. Because I think if it was more serious, the NFL would crack down on it. Because especially with Tom Brady and his knee, I think they're going to be cracking down more on injuries. So if it were more serious than just a strain, I think that they would have told them to go on. I think the Cowboys would have been told to put him on the PUP list.
yeah,
But
yeah, that makes sense, and I get your baseball analogy because I did not play a lot of baseball after, gosh, like second grade, but
yeah,
I go out and throw the baseball every once in a while, and your arm does evidently get sore because the baseball throwing motion is ridiculous and not normal. So
yeah,
you you wake up the next morning and feel like your arm is going to fall off. But that soreness is a little bit different than throwing the football or having like a hurt shoulder, because you kind of you ice your arm or your shoulder, or you just do nothing if you're not a baseball player and just move on the rest of your day and let it get itself worked out. But the fact that he hasn't really been doing much of any throwing, other than the push throw motion, is a little bit alarming, just because they've been very secretive about what is actually going on. Um, and I think they've kind of put themselves in a good position, because they said, hey, he did strain a muscle in his shoulder, which is a significant, like a strain is pretty significant. So they kind of have filled out all the checks for the NFL. Hey, he strained his shoulder. We're limiting him. Blah blah blah. But if you're the quarterback of the team, you gotta be practicing and doing something, because the quarterback is a very rhythm based position, and if he just walks out there against Tampa with only like 3 or 4 days of practice, it's going to be a disaster.
he's
So
not doing nothing. He's out there like running. From the videos that I've seen, at least, he's out there running, handing the ball off to Zeke. He's just not like he'll throw it like he'll go in a play action motion. He'll like fake it to Zeke, and then he won't throw it, but he'll do the whole motion. So he's doing everything but throwing the ball, which obviously
right,
throwing the ball is like his job. So it
right.
is
Like,
alarming.
yeah. Based on like throwing the football. If you don't
Yeah,
have your rhythm throwing the football, and you don't have your timing down with CD or Amari on their breaks of their routes, or
yeah,
Gallup or Jarwin or Zeke or whatever, it's going to be a disaster versus Tampa, because Tampa's practicing and they're going to be ready to go. But so I would love to see him. Like, if I don't think he doesn't need to play this next preseason game. He doesn't need to play that. But I would like to see him play the third preseason game. And if
yeah.
he misses that preseason game, I think I might have to wear 2 ice packs on each shoulder, because there will be a problem there. Or that's
Yeah,
when we might have to come back to this and be like, what is wrong with you, buddy? Like,
so true.
did you like, do you need Tommy John surgery? Like, did you like, what's going on? Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, Dak's out
yeah,
there
but
on the side. He's throwing his Nerf footballs. I did hear that he was throwing some Nerf footballs. Um, but yeah, get better, get well soon. But until
yeah,
then, thank
hopefully.
you for giving me this opportunity for wearing this. I appreciate you.
Well, besides the Dak debacle, the Cowboys had a really good practice against the Rams, which you and I talked about in great length, and obviously they had the Hall of Fame game. So if we can get into the Hall of Fame game, and then we can end it off with the practice as well as the um, Hall of Fame induction. So I'll get into the first half stuff. We can talk about that, and then you can divulge into the second half.
Perfect.
So for
Take it away.
everyone, thank you. So for everyone that didn't watch, the Cowboys took on Pittsburgh Steelers, and I think this was a perfect test because they drafted Najee Harris. Hopefully, I pronounced his first name right, from Alabama. And he is definitely the best running back that we're going to face this preseason. And sadly, the first play, as Ray, you saw, the Cowboys defense, the run defense, looked as good as they looked last year. He ran for a good 5 to 6 yards. But after that, they kind of held their own. The pass rush and the tackling looked a lot better. Micah, you can see, like, we all knew he was fast based off his 40 time, but there's a difference between like pure speed and football speed, and he was all over the place. The first play he wasn't particularly in the right position, but after that he was everywhere he needed to be, and that was case in point when the last snap, or the last play for the first drive for the Steelers, the botch snap, and Micah was right there to fall on. He didn't really do much, but he was able to fall on it, thankfully. Um, Garrett looked good. I know, Ray. Garrett's like your best friend. You and I both wish that he got more playing time last year, but he looked good. Schultz looks really good. The tight ends, him and Sean McCannon, he looked good too. Noah Brown had some really good catches. Cedric Wilson, who Ray now loves, also had some really nice catches. The left side of the line looked pretty bad. That left tackle, who we signed in free agency, did not look good. But Connor Williams held his own. After the game, I went back because you and I talked about how bad the left side of the line looked. And looking back at it, it was definitely the left tackle. Williams. Only bad thing that Williams did was when they were on that drive and Garrett, he rolled out to left and he like had to throw it and it was a little low and almost got intercepted. That was Williams' fault because the guy got away from him and he didn't stay in front of him. But as the Cowboys always do, whenever they're in the opponent's territory, 30-yard line or above, they ended it with a field goal, which you and I know all too well.
Mm-hmm.
So the defensive second drive, they threw a screen, and just Cowboys and screens do not go well together at all. But Micah looked.
Teacher, I have a question, or I have a comment. Screens only work well against Pittsburgh in 2016, where back when I referred to Dak as Dink and Dak, now I have a new nickname for him because he throws it a little bit further down the field. But I mean, if the shoulder continues to be an issue, I might be able to go back to the Dink and Dak name. But anyway, back in 2016 when they played Pittsburgh, where Dink and Dak tossed it to Zeke, and then Zeke ran a long way to the end zone. So that is the only time I've seen a screen work well in the Cowboys' favor. Other than that, like you said, it was a disaster.
Yeah. I feel like when the quarterback throws a screen, the Cowboys just have no idea what they're doing, and they have no idea what the play is.
Must be Jalen Smith's fault.
Exactly. Besides that, Kelvin Joseph, the rookie, he got beat on an out route. I don't really know what coverage they were in, but Chase Claypool was able to get away from him. Claypool, I don't think he's all that great, but he did end up dropping a ball because he thought that he was going to get smacked by the safety. So at least someone on the defense is being feared. There may not be a lot of people, but at least someone's being feared. And the first quarter ended by a Cedric Wilson catch. He looked like the best wide receiver out there. And Gilbert, he had a lot of good throws and had a few bad throws, but hopefully he'll be able to become the quarterback number 2 for the future. Terrence Steele looked as bad as he always does. He got beat by very, very badly. One thing I did like about the second team, or the rotation, was that the backup running backs looked good. I liked how they didn't keep one guy out there for too long. They were able to use both of them. I think they complemented each other very well. Luke Gifford, he looked good. The linebacker who was an undrafted free agent. We drafted him a few years ago. He looked good. I think the best play of the second quarter was when Claypool pushed off Nashon and then he caught it and then he was just like down for the count. I was like, that play definitely signifies Chase's career.
Yeah. All right, keep going. I'm just gonna turn on this light.
You
It's
go
getting
for
dark
it.
in here.
Mason Rudolph looked as good as you and I both thought he was. He
Mhm.
did not look good there at all. And they had some missed field goals too. And towards the end of the second quarter, Cooper Rush joined. He got some playing time. And he didn't look great. Malik Turner, who's a wide receiver who's kind of on the cusp of making the roster or not, he had a catch. He had a few nice catches, but those were negated by a fumble. Nashon Wright, who was a rookie corner, he looked good. Dwayne Haskins, who was the third stringer for Steelers, I don't think that he looked any better than he did for the Washington football team. And for me personally, I think that's as much as I got out of the first half. Um, I didn't really expect much. Scoring 3 points was kind of a bummer, but it's kind of hard when your punter is kicking your field goals. I didn't like that Joe Buck I think it was Joe Buck was talking about how the punter who our kicker didn't look too good, but little did he know that he's our punter because our kicker Greg Zerline
Joe
he did
Buck.
not kick. But yeah, Joe Buck needs to step away from football and baseball. That's another conversation for another day. But did you have any comments on the first half of the Dallas Cowboys' first preseason game?
Yeah, just a few points that I want to make really quickly. The first thing is I saw a little bit different. I have a little bit different opinion on the running game, on our run defense. Obviously, it's improved from the 12 to 15 yards last year that they were giving up. But it just felt very similar to when we were killing everyone with the running game in 2014 with Murray, and then also in 16 with Zeke his first year, where we just get that 3 to 6 yards every rush. And it seemed like those first few drives, I mean, even really the entire game, like every drive, it felt like the Steelers were always getting into like a third and manageable, and they were always like, getting either the first down or they weren't getting the first down. Just like for the first drive, like Harris would get 3 to 6, and then they would have like a throw, or they'd run it again and get close to 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, and then Rudolph would throw it, that out route, or the throw across the middle where he threw it 5 yards behind him. That was pretty pathetic. I thought that was really funny. But yeah, just there was not much. I didn't see many runs stopped in the backfield in the first half. Maybe like 2 or 3. But that's kind of how I felt on the run game. I definitely feel like with the two edge rushers not playing, it might be a little bit harsh to criticize how like consistently poor the run game was with Delon Gregory out. So we'll have to see when they play if it improves. But I would love them to not be giving up 3 to 6 yards every first down, because if a team gets in third and manageable, especially for playing Brady or Mahomes or Herbert or who else do we play? Like
Any decent team.
Any decent team with a decent quarterback, if you give them third and manageable where they're able to play action it's going to be hard for the young secondary to deal with that. So that's point number 1. Point number 2, the running game, whenever the ball was ran to the left side of the line, it was stuffed for a minimal gain. When they ran to the right, it looked great. So I remember writing, I highlighted it after the first quarter. I was like, if Tyron Smith is not playing this year, it's going to be a disaster, because that left tackle, he did not have a great day. Let's just put it that way. He was getting blown through. He was getting juked off the line. He was, not holding his block. So it was very hard for them to run on the left side of the off the left side. So Tyron Smith, please stay healthy. I would really appreciate it. Yeah, the last thing, just the fact that all of our drives stalled in the red zone or near the red zone, which I'm not a fan of, because like we moved the ball great and Gilbert looked great. He had like he had two bad throws. One was a bad decision, one was inaccurate. But what I liked the most was after he made the bad throw, there's one bad throw where he threw it a little bit behind. I think it was Wilson, and the defender got a hand on it. And then the very next play on third down, he hit the tight end like in perfect stride over the middle for a first down. Yeah. So I like the bounce back and how he was getting the chunk plays. He threw like a few 20 to 25-yard chunk plays down the field. I like that. But it just seemed like we got in the red zone and then we just stall. First drive, he got sacked. And then of course the left guard, Connor Williams, got blown by and he had to escape, and he made the poor decision on the goal line. But for like the only thing I had to say about Gary Gilbert negatively was just he needed to, either throw the ball away or just work on his awareness and just get out of the pocket, because very next drive he fumbled. He was hit from behind because he was just sitting there too long. That's like one of those times where he would need to escape. And other than that, Cooper Rush, every time he was on the field, it seemed like he would make a good decision, and then the very next play would be a bad decision. So like I just remember I wrote inconsistent decision making. He'd have a good pass, and then the next pass he'd throw it into double coverage on the hash, on the opposite hash mark, and it'd be like nearly intercepted. And last one, just like the turnovers in the first half. I believe we had 2, correct, in the first half. We had the fumble and the No. It was only
definitely a fumble. Definitely a fumble.
We just had the fumble. Yeah. Turnovers, I'll get into the turnovers in the second half, but just the fact that we were tied, we had a turnover ratio of 1-1 after the half, which I don't like turnovers. It's how we lost a lot of games last year. So just the fact that like it was complete for a first down, and then he fumbled after he passed the first down mark and it was recovered, which is kind of disappointing. But other than that, that's all I have to say for the first half. Hopefully Zerline comes back, because that punter was not doing a good job.
Let me just say one more thing before we get into the second half. If for whatever reason Tyron were to have to take a game off or two, obviously Connor Williams, when he was back in his UT days, he did play left tackle, and although one of the biggest reports for him was that he had below average arm length for a NFL caliber left tackle. If he would have to go out there for just a game, I would be way more comfortable with him than Naseki or whatever his name was that was out there for last week.
I totally agree.
Yeah, thankfully we have a lot more guard depth and center depth than we do tackle depth, which is an issue. But Connor can definitely go out there and play left tackle, and we can have McGovern go in there and play left guard if we needed to.
Yeah, I'm liking that idea. We have Connor not from UT at left guard, and then we put Connor from UT at left tackle, and just not speak about Steele or McKnight, or not McKnight, not just Knight. Like, just not even worry about them.
Keep them. Don't even dress them up. Keep them on the very, very far side of the game.
Exactly.
One thing before you get into it, how did you feel about Dan Quinn being up in the stand and not on the field?
It doesn't really bother me.
I don't like it, because I remember Linehan, I think his last year with the Cowboys, he went up into the booth, and I hated it because let's say um, Micah Parsons doesn't understand something. You can't have Quinn come yell at him from the booth. So I would rather him be able to talk to his players after a drive, and maybe after preseason he'll come down, or maybe they have some middleman to talk to someone. But I think it looks personally, I like for the coaches to be on the field instead of in the booth, kind of like
Yeah.
what Kellen Moore does.
Yeah. I don't really recall whether or not if he was in the booth in Seattle. But yeah, I do prefer for coaches to be. I mean, unless you're the offensive coordinator and you're just calling plays from the booth, I would prefer you to be down there. But I didn't really think much of it. I just thought maybe since it was preseason, he was just up there. But I'm sure they have a way of communicating to players from the booth.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. It would be nice for him to be on the field.
There's also a better view from up there. You get to see different things.
Mm-hmm.
So there are both pros and cons to both.
Yeah, but I mean, I'd like maybe someone asked him about if he was in the booth, and he said, "Oh, I was." I don't know. We'll have to do some digging on that and figure it out. But yeah, Dan Quinn can do what he wants as long as the defense looks better.
Yeah. As long as Jalen Smith does not start, he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, and surprisingly, I did not write a single thing about Jalen Smith, but that was just because he did nothing.
Yeah.
The last time I saw him was when he was beaten to the fumble by Micah Parsons, who was lined up on the opposite hash mark than he was, and somehow beat him to the fumble.
Yeah,
so
he has insane speed.
Yeah, I remember the only thing I texted you, I said, well, there's Micah beating unsure Jalen, I think is what I said,
you said
to the ball.
Something.
But yeah.
It felt good to be able to, I think you and I can both agree. I don't think there's been a player of his speed that we've had in a while. Because even Sean Lee, who was the best linebacker we've had as of recent past, he was always injured.
Yeah,
having Micah out there, flying all over the place, felt really good.
Yeah, I wrote down after I had written Parsons' name, I wrote in quotations Lee for that reason, because Sean Lee, when he played, he was our leading tackler. He was always around the ball. He always made the tackle. And Parsons is doing like a very similar thing. He's by the ball. He knows where to be. He's smart. He's right place at the right time, and he tackles well. So it would be great if we could have him be like Sean Lee and just stay on the field. That would be great.
And Leighton Vander Esch looked pretty good too. I remember they did. It was either a sweep to the outside or a run to the outside, and him and Leighton and Micah were both there. Which, as you know, going back to the Odell against the Browns last year, if we would have had a healthy Leighton and Micah against that, I think we could have definitely have beaten the Browns and stopped that play.
Well, yeah, we could have at least tackled him. That would have been nice. I actually didn't even notice Leighton on the field, so I completely missed that. But then I saw him on the sideline with his neck shoulder pad. I'm like, oh, I guess he did dress and played. I just didn't even see him. No idea he was playing. But yeah, if you're ready to move on to the second half,
we
go can for do that. Yeah. Third quarter, our man Ben DiNucci walked out from the huddle. He got the entire second half. So this was basically McCarthy saying, this is your half. Do what you got to do to impress us. Dak's not here. We've already gone through Rush and Gilbert. This is your half. So by this point, pretty much the entire O-line starters were not there anymore, and it showed. They were stopping the run behind the line or at the line. DiNucci throwing sidearm, his skill. His first pass, he throws a sidearm pass for a yard because the corners on the Steelers are very disciplined and they tackle well by the line of scrimmage. And and then our man Knight gets blown past and Danucci is sacked. So we unfortunately have to punt. And on that punt, I don't remember the guy's first name, but the second name stuck out. So I'm just going to call him Colin Sexton because Colin Sexton is a basketball player. But Sexton, he had a huge return, and I wrote special teams has not looked good, whether it was the punter kicking the field goals and the big punt return. So wasn't a fan of the big punt return because field position is everything, and got to control the field position. Haskins came in around that point, or actually he was still playing, but he had a bootleg first down, another run for 3 to 5 yards. Wait, hold on.
Yeah, while you're looking for that, one thing that I definitely liked, well, not about the Cowboys, but the Steelers punter, he had a lot of good punts.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna talk
They
about him
drafted him
soon.
in the 7th round. I don't mean to steal your thunder, but he looked really good.
Yeah, he might have. The punt might have been before,
Because I
but there
think
was
he
one.
won the
There
punter
was
award in college.
there
I
was
think.
one punt that he had that was phenomenal, and I'm pretty sure it is in the. It's in the third quarter.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, just that play with the drive, the Pittsburgh drive, they had like multiple runs where they were just, chewed up yardage, and then Haskins hit or Balaj ran it in. Kevin Balaj ran it in for the touchdown. And that was our first touchdown of the game from the Pittsburgh Steelers. And sure enough, the kicker goes out there and misses the extra point. So it's 6-3. How exciting. Next drive, Danucci throws it deep, pass interference, first down. I was like, I wrote there, I'm like, hey, good job, Ben, for recognizing single coverage and giving your receiver a chance and getting the flag. But of course, right after that, he throws an interception into triple coverage, and it's a turnover.
Good
And
old
he said
Ben.
in his press conference that being hit as he threw affected the ball to be high, but there was no way that ball was not either going to be intercepted or batted down. It was just a really bad idea. And at that point, our turnover margin improves to 1 and 2, which is a capital B, capital A, capital D bad, which is what I wrote. Very next drive, Haskins checks down to his running back, and what I took away from that was, hey, Ben, check down to your running back. And that drive really looked like Haskins had made a few decent steps forward. He was a little bit more accurate, making better decisions, running when he needed to. Of course, our defensive line was getting little to no pressure at that point, and they really didn't get much pressure the entire game other than a few times. But we had a Nahshon Wright. Nahshon Wright had a good play in coverage and forced a field goal. And at that point, we're down 9-3. Ben DiNucci comes back out there, has a huge chunk play down the field. That play rolled out away from the pressure, and his feet were totally whack, like sideways, and he throws it across his body for a first down. And I was like, what the heck is wrong with you? Just set your feet. I wrote here that there's a Mike McCarthy quote with an hour and 6 minutes left in the recording. Not going to pull that up, but basically what it said was we need to run the ball more to help our defense, which that sounds a lot like what I say. And then, of course, a little bit after that, Aikman also said, hey, run to help the defense. And I was like, wow, it's like I know what I'm talking about. Yeah, we and of course Ben throws an incomplete screen. We punt again. So at this point, Ben is not doing very well. He's showing his flashes, but not really doing much. And there's not much like excitement in this half, other than if you're a Steelers fan, because they scored a lot. They went from 0 points to, I guess, 19 points. But Kyron Brown, our guy that we got from the Jets, he had a nice tackle for a loss. So I made sure to write his name down because he made a good tackle. We struggled with tackling last year, so it was nice to see him make a good tackle. Cowboys forced a fumble, but they didn't recover it, which was very sad. So we were still losing the turnover battle at this point. Run defense still consistently giving up 3 to 6 yards. And at that point, third quarter's over, and I have my keys. Is Ben is not impressive after the third quarter. He doesn't look impressive. Run D still the same as the first half. Turnovers, we're losing the turnover battle, and then missed scoring opportunities. Because most drives for the Cowboys, they started off pretty strongly and then either stall or end with a turnover. So I guess, I know it's the preseason, but if you got to limit the turnovers and cash in with touchdowns, because this game could easily be 21-9, right? Because the first 3 drives were in the red zone with Gilbert. We could have scored 3 straight times and had 21 points. But just some easy fixes, not many penalties at this point in this game. You didn't mention that, but it was a pretty clean game from both teams. And I liked how we didn't have many penalties. And then Robinson, I don't remember where Robinson was from, but the corner, he had a nice tackle.
Reggie?
Yeah, Reggie Robinson had a nice tackle.
I think he was from Tulsa, but I may not. Tulsa, Boise State. I may be completely wrong, but those are the 2 colleges that come to mind.
I really want to find. Oh, here it is. In the second half. The punter Presley, he pinned them inside the 1. I was like, I wrote down like, what a punt by the Pittsburgh punter. Like he pinned them down inside the 1, and of course the only good run from the Cowboys was when they were inside their 1 and 34 runs for like 20 yards and gets them out of trouble. And so, yeah, just to give Presley a shout out, great punt. Wish you were on our team. We could use you. But yeah, fourth quarter, very similar to the third quarter. Josh Dobbs came in. He looked good. He was probably the best quarterback out of the 3 from Pittsburgh. If he keeps playing well in the preseason, he could challenge Rudolph for that backup spot. I don't think Rudolph's very good, and Haskins is probably their experiment while Big Ben is still the starter. They probably would like Haskins to take over, but Dobbs looked really nice. He was the best throwing the ball. He had a touchdown pass in the fourth quarter, and Dallas muffed a punt. Their punt returner muffed a punt, so that ended the day with a turnover ratio of 1-3, which is not good.
Sounds very familiar.
I don't want them to have a 1-3 turnover ratio against the Bucs, but that seems inevitable at this point. But the only highlight of the broadcast in the second half was when they put up a graphic on the screen of Bob Hayes, who you might not know who Bob Hayes is, but basically he was 1965's version of Tyreek Hill. And he played for Dallas, and his rookie year, he had 1,000 yards. And then CeeDee Lamb had 935. So it was basically the highest Cowboys rookie receivers production in the franchise's history. So we had Bob Hayes, and then CeeDee Lamb. So I just basically just, good company CD, being with the Hall of Fame, great. And let's build. It looks like he's building because he's having quite the camp. And then again, Aikman agrees with me about something. I have no idea what he said, but he agreed with me, so I made sure to write that down. But basically, from my Danucci had like a 28-yard run at the end of the game, and that was basically it. So just takeaways from the entire game for me. Garrett Gilbert won the QB star of the Cowboys. He was the best QB, so he gets the gold star. Cooper Rush, he had a pretty nice game statistically, but he was like every other throw was it had an interception written all over it. So just kind of similar to what he looked like, I guess, last preseason, where he had some flashes, but then you would throw it to someone else and you're like, what? Why? Cedric Wilson, he was my flash receiver of the game. He looked good out there. He was open. I remember him from last year against Seattle where he had those two big catches. I'm sure he'll probably get some more playing time this year. 3 turnovers, not good. Deep Parsons and Cox led the team in tackles. Well, not Parsons, but Cox led the team in tackles, and he looked good when he was playing. Parsons was everywhere, had the fumble recovery. And then Nashawn Wright, he had like one bad play where he was burned by Claypool. Other than that, he was solid.
It was a push off. I even the broadcaster said it was a push off. So
well, yeah, it was a push off, but he was still, behind Claypool. Like Claypool had a step on him, and usually they're not going to throw a flag on a play like that. Or I rarely see a flag on a play like that. I mean, if he was smart like Ramsey, he would have flopped, and then they would have thrown the flag.
If he was also like Ramsey, then he would let Rudolph throw it like 50 yards down the field and act like he was the reason why Claypool didn't catch it.
Yeah. But, I mean, Wright looked good. Keldon Joseph looked good. I didn't write him down, but he looked good. Anthony Brown, the one time I saw him, he got burned.
Yeah.
So, great job, Anthony Brown.
I forgot to mention that, but yeah, he did.
Yeah. Danucci, he played pretty awful. He had like a few good throws, but not very good. He still can't run the offense well. And run defense, they gave up consistently 3 to 5 yards every time they handed the ball off, other than a few plays. And I checked the stats because I was curious, and the stats on ESPN were not that bad for our defense. It just seemed like every single drive it was a third and manageable. So, like it was maybe I'm overreacting, but it felt like they were getting 3 to 6 yards every single time they touched the ball.
Yeah, well, keeping Harris contained, especially since he's a rookie, that I knew that was going to be difficult. But
yeah, and Harris was stopped behind the line, I think, twice, and he ended up with 22 yards rushing on 7 touches, which is not bad for the defense. But other than that 1 or 2 plays, he was pretty much getting whatever he wanted. No huge runs, which was nice because we did that a lot. But just those runs that hurt, wear down your defensive line, the 3 to 6s. But we'll see when D-Law and Gregory come back. But other than that, I don't have much else from the game. Garrett Gilbert was nice. He can lead the first team. And then we need Tyron Smith out there to function on the left side, because if we don't have Tyron Smith out there, we're going to be basically a right side of the field team where we don't do anything to the left, because it would be really hard to do anything to the left. But yeah, that's what I got. Great preseason game. Dallas, you lost by 13 points.
I think the last time, whenever I read a statistic, whenever Dallas loses their first preseason game, they've made the playoffs. So maybe Maybe this is some good karma. But before
Maybe
we
they
get
did it
into
on purpose.
I think so. Before we get into the Rams game, I want to read you this quote. I didn't show this before, but it just came out. So this is Dan Quinn talking about Jalen Smith. You're my best friend. He said, Dan Quinn says about Smith, being the leader of this defense, the speed of the leader is the speed of the pack. We just got to continue to go. We've got a bunch of leaders on this team. I don't think Jalen and leader need to go anywhere near each other, but he's besides DeMarcus, he's probably been on this team the longest. But I think last year, putting away his playing, his play on the field aside, when people asked him about how he played and he said check the film, I think that was definitely like he's full of himself, which is why I kind of like was low on him compared to when they asked Leighton and he said I have to get better and this team has to get better, which I think puts Leighton at a much higher advantage than it does Jalen on making this team, especially with how you said how Cox played. Cox playing well, he's going to be our best coverage linebacker. So one of these non-coverage linebackers is going to have to go, and it's not going to be Micah for obvious reasons. It's not going to be Leighton because I think this is his last year on his deal, or they may have re-signed him. I'm not 100% sure. But Jalen, if you were to cut him, you'd also be getting, depending on how his contract worked out, I'm assuming you'd also get cap money. And any cap money you get, hopefully, will be going to Michael Gallup. But we can talk about that later.
Yeah. I remember seeing that quote. Was it from Dan Quinn or was it from Jalen Smith?
It says Dan Quinn talk. They might have said the same thing, but that this was about Dan Quinn talking about the defense, saying how we have a lot of leaders and he wants Jalen to be the leader of the defense.
Okay. Because I remember seeing that and then
Jalen did
saying
something
something
similar.
about that. Yeah, but just keep Jalen anywhere. Just keep Jalen away from the field as much as possible.
I
So I
hope
don't
he does
have
not get a captain patch.
nightmares.
He better not get a captain patch.
He won't.
Do you want to move into the practice game and then the practice, and then we can talk about the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, go ahead. Let's go.
So I did not watch it because I do not get the televised games in New Jersey or the televised practices in New Jersey, but I did see a few good clips. Parsons looks good. We can both agree that the difference in play between Stafford and any of Steelers quarterbacks, not naming Ben, is going to be a very different play style.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to get a pass block on Stafford, as well as the cornerback, you know who I'm talking about, who intercepted
Kennedy.
Yeah, that was his name, Kennedy, who I think can definitely make this team off of how he's been playing recently. He even had a nice play in the preseason game. He had a very acrobatic. He was running to his right, ball came to his left, somehow got his hands on it and came down with it. He looked good. But I think my favorite part of play was when it was I read a tweet that there was a fight, and I'm not a fan of. I don't like fights because I don't think it means. I think that means your team's not disciplined. But shortly after that, there were videos of Aaron Donald going up against Connor Williams, and when I saw that, I was getting ready. I was preparing myself to see Connor Williams get put on his back. But to both of our surprises, Connor beat Aaron Donald. Mr. 99 overall himself got beat by Connor Williams twice and in practice, which was insane. And Aaron Donald got a little upset because I'm sure he didn't like getting beat by Connor. So he gets up in his face, and what does Connor? And they start pushing, and what does Connor do? Picks him up, and they just fall over. I think Connor threw him, but I was like, yes. And then there was a whole big like getting each other's faces. Also, Tony Pollard, he had a run and he beat everyone. And some number 41, I think it was, on the Rams pushed him out. And then Tony was like, "Why'd you do that?" And the guy swung at him. And then Pollard, like, if you get swung at, you're gonna like retaliate. So he tries to go get up in his face, and then McVay got up in Pollard's face, and I was like, "Go cut 41! Like, why are you gonna do that?"
You forgot the part where 41 bolted.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he ran. He was scared. I was like, "Yes."
Yeah.
If our backup running back can instill fear, then we're gonna have a good season.
Yeah, I just
But
thought it was hilarious that McVay was yelling at or talking to
Pollard,
Pollard and not his corner for running away and like getting on him
yeah,
for running.
exactly.
Like, yeah.
But CD looked good. I from what I read, Jalen CD beat Jalen, but Jalen was more in he wasn't pressed up. He gave CD some coverage, like 15 yards or whatever, and CD went on an out route and caught it, and people were going all crazy. I was excited until because the tweet was CD beats Jalen, but then after you see that he had like 15 yards of running, I was like, oh, okay.
Oh.
But Gallup looked good. CD had another touchdown catch where he beat everyone. I would have liked to see Dak play, but obviously because of the injury, hopefully they can.
This injury?
Yeah, that injury. But yeah, I wish I would have been able to watch it, but hopefully when I'm back in Texas, I'll be able to get everything, just like you, and you and I can talk about everything.
Yep. I was driving home from Winter Park that day, so I saw none of the practice game. I did, however, see the fight or the scuffle or whatever. And it was good. Good job. Like it was good to see a little bit of effort and toughness of our team because we weren't very tough last year. I would my thing I told Owen, I said it's nice for them to do it in the preseason and during training camp when there's no record is put by your name and you're pumped up, but we gotta see if they're sticking up for themselves and sticking up for their other players when they are, if let's say they're having a tough time and they're like 5-7. Let's say they're like 5-8, 5-8, and someone gets hit, like pushed in the back or does something. Like, are they going to be a little bit fiery then, or are they just kind of be like, oh, like slumped? Oh, we're 5-8. Like it's just who a team is when they're struggling. That's basically what I'm trying to say. And they're not really struggling, so it's nice to see the fire right now. But I would also like to see what they look like when their backs are up against the wall.
And obviously, Ray is alluding to when Dalton got concussed against Washington,
where he actually almost died.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't almost die. That's a little bit extreme, but he was knocked out for a little bit.
Yeah, he was slaying down, and the guy on Washington got ejected. I would like to think that if Zach, Lyle, and Tyron would have been in that game, the defender would have been on the ground too. Obviously, there's no excuses to that, but they were a bunch of no-name guys, and the team was horrendous. But hopefully, like you said before, we'll know if anything similar would have happened in the regular season. Hopefully, they would have a similar type of intensity, especially after Lyle. Going back a few, like one of our first episodes when we talked about Lyle Collins talking about Dak, and he was like, "I'll do anything for him." Like, that's my guy. Like, we'll see how true or how meaningful those words are in the next few weeks.
Yeah, but the Tony Pollard thing was hilarious. I thought that entire video was funny.
Yeah.
And regards to Kennedy, I thought that was an exceptional interception.
Yeah.
Um, I'm sure when Owen DM'd me that video, he was like, "Look, Stafford threw an interception,"
Yep.
and I was like, great," but he also caught the ball running the complete opposite direction of where the ball was being thrown. So I think I said like Stafford just needs to give him a congratulations on that one.
Mm.
And from what I read, Stafford had a pretty nice game and hit D Jack for a big play touchdown.
DJ always kills us, like always.
So someone in the secondary forgot to watch for Deshaun Jackson on a streak route. But from what I heard, no one really got hurt in the.
Yeah, there there
So
were there were a few ankle rolls, but nothing serious, which is very good. Like the biggest win of the team practice and preseason, there were no injuries, and hopefully, knock on wood, nothing else happens that would derail our season.
yeah, I would much rather a season be derailed by lack of performance by some people than be derailed
Yeah.
and have people injured. But that's all I really got about training camp.
So why don't you dive into your gold jacket friends?
So my friend Jimmy Johnson and Drew Pearson and some other Dallas Cowboys were inducted into the Hall of Fame this last weekend. A few other guys of note who were inducted: Peyton Manning, John Lynch, um,
Was
the
Palomalu?
Colts running back Paul Malu was inducted. I forget what the Colts running back's name was, but it was Elgin something.
Mm-hmm.
He played with Peyton. Another guy who was inducted was Daryl Woodson. He went into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Gosh, there are a few other guys that I'm blanking on, but Peyton Manning had a really good speech. Tom Brady was mentioned, and they pretty much booed him like they would boo Roger Goodell at that during that speech, and I thought that was pretty funny. He was also sitting next to Jason Witten, which was interesting. Brady and Witten were sitting next to each other, Witten was probably talking about how great retirement was, trying to get Brady to retire before the Cowboys had to play him week 1. But it was nice to see Jimmy get inducted because he's really our last decent coach other than Parcells, who's walked through the Dallas Cowboys office and coached the team. And from what I've heard and from what I've read, that if you messed up with Jimmy as your coach, you'd be gone. It would be goodbye for you. The only player to somehow escape that was Leon Lett when he had his debacle, fumbled, did something like there was a blocked field goal. He tried to pick it up and then was tackled and fumbled, and it was recovered in the end zone, and the Cowboys lost. So he was like the only player who really messed up to be spared by Jimmy Johnson. He turned out to be a decent factor on that defense. But Jimmy and Jerry kind of made up in a way during the Hall of Fame. Jerry basically said, "You'll be in the Ring of Honor after the ceremony." So sometime soon, Jimmy Johnson will be a part of the Ring of Honor. That was pretty nice. A few other things. Let's see. Troy Aikman introduced Jimmy Johnson during his induction, and then Roger Staubach, who is a very old Cowboys quarterback, he played back in the 60s and 70s. He introduced Drew Pearson. So it was nice to see the good Cowboys quarterbacks who produced rings for our team get up on the stage in their gold jackets and wave to the crowd and be appreciated. So that was nice. But few players who are eligible for the Hall of Fame next year. We have DeMarcus Ware And then we have our very polarizing friend, Tony Romo, who surprisingly, Owen is wearing a Tony Romo jersey. I did not know he owned such things.
It's one of the old ones.
So just I told Owen, I love Romo's my favorite player in the NFL. He's my favorite. But if he's inducted into the Hall of Fame first ballot before DeMarcus Ware, I will be the first to criticize whoever is voting on that committee.
Ware will definitely get in first round. But going back to what you said about Witten, he has 2 more years, right? 2 to 3 before
something
he can get
like
in.
that. Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Romo will get a first. Will be inducted next year because he didn't really. Like we said before, the teams he played on were never good enough to be really great in the playoffs. So his playoff numbers aren't as great as some other quarterbacks, but he's definitely one of the best undrafted free agents ever. And like you can go on and on about his numbers. I'm sure you have them all memorized. So I'll let you talk about those. So you can talk about his numbers and how he should get in. I will give you that right now.
Oh, to
talk all about
right
his
now.
numbers.
Okay,
and you can say how deserving he is of making it.
Yeah. I mean, his career, he really had only 2 football teams when he was healthy that had a chance to make a playoff run. That was his 07 team where he was playing with T.O. and they had Marion Barber and Jason Witten was on the team. He was a youthful Jason Witten. DeMarcus Ware was there. Terrence Newman was there. Roy Williams was at safety. Patrick Creighton, God help me with him. He was on that football team. And then, of course, 2014 with the buffed up offensive line, Frederick Martin, Tyron Smith, Doug Free at that point, and the guy who plays in Denver now. It was on that team. Forgot his name. Who knows what his name is, but he was there. And DeMarco Murray, Des Bryant, Terrence Williams, Cole Beasley, and then, of course, the defense with Sean Lee, who actually played a little bit that year. Tyron Crawford. I don't remember who else was on that defensive line. But Orlando Scandrick was in the secondary, Barry Church, Jeff Heath, and then one other cornerback that I'm blanking on. But those were his only 2 really good teams that had a chance. And of course, 2014, the miscalled does catch kind of cost them that game. And then 2007 was the Cabo game, in which sense that Cabo really didn't have a factor in his performance. He actually played fairly well in the first half and really the second half, but the offensive line kind of got exposed and he was running all over the field. And of course, Patrick Creighton decided to drop a sure touchdown and then pull up on another sure touchdown in that game. Of course, we lost to Eli Manning. Eli Manning then went on to beat Brett Favre and then went on to beat Tom Brady, who was undefeated with the New England Patriots. So once again, thank you, Eli Manning, for your services.
And you can give another one for last week because I missed it. So round of applause again.
Yes, and thank you again for saving us.
Eli.
Thank you again for saving us. And if you don't follow Eli Manning on Twitter, he is quite a funny guy when it comes to his Twitter. So anyone who has Twitter, you should follow Eli Manning. He's quite a comedian out there. But I had one of those great ideas because I'm pretty sure that Owen did not watch the 2007 game versus the Giants in the postseason. So since we are still in the off season, we have quite a little bit of time. We could just, pull that game up on YouTube and take some notes and then talk about it one of our great shows and just kind of go into exactly what went wrong for the Dallas Cowboys in that game, because it wasn't really the quarterback, but if you're the quarterback, you get hated on. It was actually number 78, something Allen, who forgot how to block because he let Justin Tuck through the line every other play, and it was not good. But yeah, Tony's got top 5 numbers in like passer rating, and he's like number one in touchdowns from 06 to 2014. For like the quarterbacks who are obviously playing, other than like he's not first, he's like in the top 5 with like Breeze and Rodgers and Brady. And then of course most comeback wins, fourth quarter comebacks, and come from behind his entire career. He's got like one of the highest passer ratings in the fourth quarter of all time, which is surprising because he's known as a choke artist. Most yards for a Cowboy quarterback, which will probably be broken because the quarterback who plays now, the receivers, if they're touched, there'll be a flag. So his records will probably all be broken by Dak, barring Dak either leaving or getting hurt. Knock on wood.
I think any quarterback could beat it with these weapons.
Right.
Besides Danucci.
Yeah. I mean, Romo's career was ended shortly because of injury and getting beaten up his entire 4 or 5 first years. So he had a limited career. Because I mean, if you see like Brady plays going on to his like 20th year, Drew Brees played like 15 plus years, Big Ben's played 15 plus years, Phil Rivers played 15 plus years, Peyton Manning played 15 plus years, Eli played 15 plus years. So if Tony had it would he'd probably still be playing right now, but if he was still playing, his and he wasn't, getting banged up and hurt, he'd probably have yards up there with the all-time leading yards. So his numbers are very like short. He doesn't have much, like his numbers are they look mediocre, but in the amount of time that he had to put them up, they're pretty remarkable. But he should not be in the Hall of Fame for his first year when many other players who deserve it more than he does because of their championship accomplishments should get in. I think if he were to get in, it would be anything from his third try in to past that. So that's basically all that I would accept. Because if he gets in first or second time, might have to wonder if Jerry paid off the committee. But he was a great quarterback. I'm happy that he's eligible to get into the Hall of Fame. If he gets into the Hall of Fame, it will cause an uprising from ESPN, and the head of First Take will go nuts over it. I'm sure Skip Bayless will be happy and angry at the same time. I'm not sure how that would be possible, but he would.
He's not even a Cowboys fan.
No, he's I don't know what he is, but it's not a fan. He's just kind of a idiot. But yeah, that's all I got on Romo. I'd love for him to get into the Hall of Fame. That would make me really happy, but I don't want him to get in quickly because that would kind of be a little bit unusual. Yeah.
Him being an announcer definitely made people think of him more positively. So I think that his name isn't as hated as it was. So maybe him having a good public, like him having good PR will definitely help him. But I agree. I don't think that he'll make it first year. But after that, I definitely think he will. He's deserving of it. I just don't know when he'll get it. I just hope he doesn't get Drew Pearson treatment and have to wait, because Drew Pearson, it's a crime how long he had to wait.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate that he had to wait 30 plus years to get into the Hall of Fame. Or I mean, even like 40 or 50 plus years to get into the Hall of Fame. But yeah, that's kind of all we really have, I think, right, for this episode, other than the very big announcement. We have Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
Our first chance to see Mike and Dan and everybody. So I'm looking forward to that. Um, I think that will be fun hearing Jerry also have like 40 minutes of screen time. He'll be in every other shot. That'll be cool. But I mean, it's Hard Knocks, so there will be entertainment, and there will also be cause to pause. Like someone will say something. I'm like, why did you say that?
I'm sure they'll either this episode or next episode they'll go into Dak's injury. So hopefully we'll hear more about that. But I don't remember. I think when the Raiders did it, it was like 4 to 5 episodes. So hopefully these ones are good. Because personally, I think that this will be the highest rating that Hard Knocks has ever gotten, just because of the Cowboys.
Yeah, probably. But we'll see how that
Definitely.
we'll see what they show. And I'll probably, if I'm watching it, which I probably will be, I'll tweet some during the show.
Yeah.
Um, Mostly jokes about players, mainly Jalen Smith if I see him on the field.
And
But
we get
I
to see
really,
all of CD's plays too.
yeah, CD will probably be featured. Him, CD, and Jerry and Micah will probably get the most screen time in this episode, I bet.
And
Yeah.
we're also gonna go into they did another clip of Zeke wrapping up Dak's present, because apparently their birthdays are a week apart, so they will have an episode on that, as well as seeing Dak get cake thrown in his face. So I'm looking forward to seeing that too.
Oh, yeah, because he did have a very big boy birthday that I reminded Owen to tweet about. So imagine me, who's wearing an ice pack on my right shoulder to make fun of Dak, telling Owen to tweet about his birthday. I might not be as much of a hater as I seem to be, because I congratulated the QB on his birthday. But that's all I got.
Yeah, definitely tune into the Twitter account. It's at America's Team, capital P, capital C. And Ray and I will be I think you'll be able to sense from the tweet who is tweeting. I'm more positive minded, and Ray is, I don't know what Ray is. It depends on the day.
Humorously negative.
Yeah, it depends on the day with him. But thank you all for listening. My name was Owen DeChico.
And I'm Ray Nickens, back from vacation.
And this is America's Team. All about America's Team, brought to you by Delahanty Media. And hopefully everyone listens to the Hard Knocks episode, because we will be breaking that down next week. So I know no one wants to miss it. So make sure to listen so that you can have a better idea of what we're talking about. And we will see you next week.
And check out the YouTube. Check out the YouTube if you get bored listening on Spotify and you're like, why is he talking about this ice pack on his shoulder? Just go to our YouTube page. The entire episode will be there. The video will be there. You'll be able to see my poster behind me, my Lego thing behind me, my glasses, our mics, the ice pack. Like it's pretty exciting. It's where I'll evidently have props during the year, during the regular season games. So check out the YouTube channel. Just type in All About America's Team through YouTube and you'll find it. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this episode and have a great rest of y'all's day, whatever day this airs. And we'll see you next week.
Yes, we will. Goodbye.
Go Cowboys.
Go Cowboys.